If we look at the common traps of innovation failures, we can identify 4 of them. The first is strategy mistakes, the second is process mistakes, and then we can look at structure and organization. So with strategy mistakes, one of the things is actually rejecting opportunities that appear to be too small, or assuming that only new products count and not new services or improved processes, or actually launching too many product extensions that actually confuse clients and create internal complexities, and eventually we lose focus. In process mistakes, we can look at the way we deal with innovation when we treat it as any other process in our existing business. So we apply the same type planning, budgeting, the reviews, the meetings, and all the budget controls, which actually kills the innovation process. And the other thing is rewarding managers for doing only what they committed to do. So we discourage failure, and that's a huge mistake. Where on the other hand, we should actually encourage them to try different things, even if their bonus is dependent on successes. But we have to factor in that we really need several failures to reach somewhere. I know if a company, I was in a course on innovation recently, and I met somebody from a car manufacturer in India, and they actually celebrate every single year the failure of the year, and they give monetary rewards for those who failed and who documented their failure and who came up with it without being shy or scared of publicizing it. And we're talking here about Tata Motors, one of the biggest innovators in car manufacturing recently. So failures are extremely important. The other one is structural mistakes, which is where we actually isolate and establish silos in the organization by creating 2 classes of corporate citizens. We usually in organizations, the fun people are those that are innovators and those who make most of the money. Others, like the support functions, we don't usually treat them as fun or as important, whereas this really hinders the whole process of innovation. Skill mistakes are the 4th one, and this is where we allow the innovators to rotate out of their teams so quickly, and we don't give them enough time to actually make things work. And another mistake is when we assume that these innovation teams should only be led by the best technical people, whereas technical people might add great value, but might not be the best leaders for such teams. So these 4 really just shed the light on the common mistakes that can happen when it comes to innovation failures. Now, the other thing that to understand is the trade-off that happens between risk and return when it comes to innovation. Things are not just random. Just understanding how risky an innovation is also makes us understand, the choices that we have to do. And there's usually 5 rules of thumb when it comes to the innovation risk and the trade-off between risk and return. The first one is, and you find it very simple, by the way, but you'll be surprised how many organizations actually just do not really understand these 5 simple principles. The first one is recognize that you need a model for making judgments about risk and return. There's nothing random. There are models that can foster innovation, and whether it's formal, intuitive, but we can actually use models for measuring things rather than just trying things and thinking that they might work. We have to acknowledge the model's limitation as well. So some models can be fundamentally flawed and should be actually fixed, where others can be incomplete and can be improved. So we need to question the models that we also use and the limitations. We have to expect the unexpected. So, organizations are made of human beings, and we cannot just, possibly foresee every consequence of innovation. So we need to understand that certain things will come along that we didn't plan for, and we need to deal with them as we go. The 4th thing is to actually, and this is it looks extremely simple, but you really notice that most innovations fail, and we'll see later in the next slide how they fail, by not understanding the actual use and the user. So we link them to certain applications without actually understanding how they can be adapted to the context and to the user that's going to eventually be the ultimate user of that innovative product. The fifth thing and the last one is checking the infrastructure, and this is where infrastructure plays a big role, for example, in having a successful innovation. For example, the success of a high-speed train is greatly dependent on the rail system that will support it. If we build a really fast train, but there's no rail system, well, that's a very innovative product, but it will never reach its client base. So these 5 simple yet greatly misunderstood risks can actually further enhance the process of innovation. Now, in the next phase, I will talk about the innovation ecosystem, and later I will tell you about a book that I recommend everybody to actually read and read until you really get the whole idea of innovation ecosystems. Basically, there's a blind spot that every organization goes through. You need to look at the whole innovation ecosystem rather than just execution. The traditional approach is to look at execution. So what does it take to deliver the right innovation on time, to specs, and to beat the competition? And we're really good in this. Usually, leaders and managers they end up employing good people and they can deliver good products. But this approach is extremely risky because most innovations actually fail, not because the product isn't properly executed, but because they neglect the complete ecosystem. Philips Electronics and Sony, they're 2 classical examples. Philips Electronics, if you don't know, they have produced already a high-definition television in the mid-1980s. So when high-definition TVs are becoming popular today, well, that was in 1980. However, the problem that Philips did is that they came out with a very nice high-definition television. However, they didn't understand the impact of having the high-definition cameras and transmission standards to actually make it work. And these didn't arrive to them on time on a massive scale. So Philips at that time was left with a 2.5 billion write-down, and eventually it took them 20 years to really come back with the high-definition TVs because of the other infrastructure that was needed. And you will know in a little bit why we're mentioning about the other infrastructure that was needed. Sony as well, they did the same thing. They came up with an e-reader way before the Amazon Kindle and the other products. But then they discovered that great innovative product, the e-reader, cannot succeed when clients do not have easy access to ebooks. So Amazon came in and they solved that gap.